We've got some breaking news off the break. The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, has written to the competition regulator about the energy crisis. Our business editor, Ross Greenwood, is with me now. Ross, what does the Treasurer expect the ACCC to do here?
Well, Gina Cass-Gottlieb is the chair of the ACCC, the competition regulator in Australia, and effectively he expresses concern about rising gas and electricity prices in Australia, not only on households and the impact on their bills, but also on the viability of Australian business. But even then, on top of that, the ongoing concern for some energy retailers. Of course, part of the crisis in gas has been triggered by the collapse of one gas retailer, which led to many of its big industrial users of gas to go into the spot market, and that has pushed up the price of gas around the place. But what he has said also, and this perhaps gives a little hint as to where he's thinking, is really about sort of what the ACCC should do. So he says, I'd further expect the ACCC, as an independent regulator enforcing Australia's competition and consumer laws, to investigate any concerns arising about anti-competitive or false and misleading conduct in electricity and gas markets and take appropriate action. Now, it is fair to say that the ACCC has significant powers in these areas if it does believe that there's been any misleading or misuse of these energy markets. And so those people who are playing in those markets, and we've seen incredible movements even today. So at one stage earlier today, prices for electricity in both Victoria and South Australia were negative. In other words, they were effectively paying users to use that electricity, while at the same time, prices in New South Wales are more than $250 per megawatt hour, which is basically almost 8 times what the normal price would be. This afternoon, the prices of all states are now around that same $250 per megawatt hour. So, as I say, the markets really are whipping around the place, and I guess this might be one of the reasons why Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, has been forced, or indeed has chosen, to send that letter to the chair of the ACCC.
The market's weaker more broadly, biding their time, it seems, ahead of the rate decision tomorrow. Now, the smart money is on the RBA to raise rates by 0.4%. Why is that, Ross?
Well, the reason for it is because it almost evens out where the Reserve Bank is. It sends a strong message to consumers and also to business that it's serious in dealing with inflation. And so, therefore, it would actually bring it round to a fairly round number of 0.75%. We know that the Reserve Bank traditionally likes to move in increments of 0.25%. So if it takes it from 0.35 to 0.75%, it then would pretty much, as I say, then give it the option of raising rates by 0.25%. This is the stock exchange's indicator of where it thinks the rates will be. This is the chances, it says, of a 0.4% rise tomorrow. You can see going back a few days last week, it was at 78%, came off late last week to 71%. Today, the money markets have probably pushed those odds up a little bit. So, as I say, the markets right now are suggesting that there will be a rate rise of 0.4%, although quite clearly some of the economists have very differing views on this as well. So here's the stock exchange as we speak, the ASX 200. This is actually ASX shares, I should actually say, intraday. But broadly, the market is down by around 1/3% as we speak and as we go to air ahead of this decision tomorrow.
And are there any signs inflation is easing off? It seems here and overseas, Ross, all the signs are up.
Well, they are. And so the one little sign that everybody would be looking for is petrol prices. So the Australian Institute of Petroleum has looked at petrol prices over the past week. This is the national fuel price over the past week. So on the face of it, that looks good for inflation. On average, they're down. Let's go across the states and you can actually see, depending on where you are, petrol prices cost more or less. Perth, $2.01, Hobart, $2.01, Darwin, $1.99.5 cents a litre. You go to other parts of the country, Sydney $1.94.7 and also Melbourne $1.96.7 are some of those examples for you. But just to explain, behind the scenes, the wholesale price for petrol is rising, not falling. So while retail prices were down, the wholesale price is rising, and it is broadly expected that fuel prices are going to have another leg up, which of course does add to that inflation story and puts pressure on the Reserve Bank to raise interest rates even higher than maybe many have anticipated.